Good morning, Malta and Goza, and welcome to another edition of Lovin Daily on Workers' Day. Lovin Daily is brought to you by Browns and You. How are you, Tim?
Not bad. 1st of May today. I
First of May,
think the
another
government
month
will.
gone.
I think the government will use today to launch its transition strategy.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens today on Workers' Day. So I'll just go through the headlines of this morning. We had a migrant boat being rescued by a Captain Morgan vessel. We have two new cases of COVID, and we also have many recoveries, including one of the people who have recovered from the virus in Malta is the former Health Minister Joe Casa. A vote on the hospital deal, the controversial hospital deal, but the vote was the Nationalist Party's vote, and this was against the deal. But against the vote, sorry, we'll go into more details there. It's still morning, it's a public holiday, guys. A gym fined incorrectly, or at least controversially, for being open during the pandemic. We'll talk a bit more about that. And Malta has finally got its own quarantine merch. So the Quarantina collection by Lovin Malta and Souvenirs Don't Suck. We'll talk about that in a second. Tim, let's start with the migrant story. Yesterday we heard that migrants have been saved at sea, but by a commercial vessel, right? Tell us more about that.
Yes. So what happened is there were 57 migrants who were traveling to Europe, and they found themselves in Malta's search and rescue zone. So obviously Malta, as we know, has closed off its ports to migrants, to asylum seekers. Um, but this time it adopted a different strategy than the last one, which was basically sending them back to Libya. This time, instead of doing that, the AFM coordinated a rescue mission with a private vessel to basically send these migrants to a Captain Morgan ship, which is usually used for parties, which is going to remain 1 nautical mile off Malta's territorial waters, so within our search and rescue zone, but not within our waters. And they're going to stay there indefinitely. So the whole point of this is to send a message to the European Union that, while Malta is rescuing these people, it cannot take them in, and now the ball is in your court to see what you're going to do with them. There's actually a flag that has been attached, a European Union flag that has been attached to this boat, along with the message European solidarity, which is intended to send a message to them. I'm not sure this strategy is going to work, to be honest, because obviously all of Europe is impacted by the coronavirus pandemic, and it's very, very, we all know it's very, very difficult to get member states to agree on relocation during normal times, let alone now with the pandemic. So
I think also what's interesting. Yesterday we had the president of Malta on COVID calls, and he was speaking about the importance of European solidarity. He said this is someone who had campaigned actively against the European Union, but was saying Malta's membership of the European Union was on balance a very positive thing. But there really needs to be more European solidarity over here. And he also said that Malta should try and explore other avenues for solidarity outside of Europe as well. Malta had some success in the past with countries like America, taking on some of these refugees. But it must be said, I think this is a positive step, compared to what happened before, where the migrants were left at sea until several of them died, and then were taken back to Libya, which we know is, as the president again said yesterday, a horrific place for these people. The migrants were all men, and now we'll see sort of what happens to them over the next few days. Yesterday also we had two new cases of COVID-19, right, and 12 recoveries, taking it
and
to a total of 110 active cases.
yes, what was particularly of note from yesterday's briefing is like, okay, we've had our number of new cases has been low for a few days now, for a few weeks, I think. the number of active cases, the currently infected people, has steadily declined from, I think a high point was around 252 to around 110 now. What was different about yesterday, though, was that these low numbers were registered despite a pretty high amount of tests. So in the past few days, the number of tests had dropped to 700, 600, even 500. Yesterday it was 1,200, so it was one of our highest testing days yet, and yet the numbers were of new COVID patients was still extremely low, which is definitely a positive step. Obviously, we know that the government has now introduced this app, which basically it asks people whether they have any conditions, whether they might have encountered someone who is COVID positive, and basically like it tells you whether you should get tested or not, and it's very vast in scope. So as in, we have a cough, it'll tell you to get tested. That's basically it. So
And there's also some news about how many people were asymptomatic, right? I believe it's one in
yeah.
5.
Yeah, it was like around 20%, around 1 in 5, around 1 in 5 patients are asymptomatic. So
Including the former health
including,
minister, Joe Casa.
yes, yes. So Joe Casaro, former health minister, gave a opened up about his experience in an interview to TVM, and I found it pretty interesting. I mean, first of all, the fact that someone so high profile is, don't say the word coming clean, but like speaking so openly about it, because as we know, there is an issue of COVID, of former COVID-19 patients even getting stigmatized, and to have somebody just speaking so openly about it will definitely help counter it. So basically, he said, I spent 2 weeks inside my bedroom, completely locked up. I had no symptoms, but I spent those 2 weeks obviously wondering if symptoms are going to come. So like I get I cough a bit, and I think like, wow, okay, the coughing fit about to begin. I had to keep checking my forehead to see if I have a temperature, and he's also a psychiatrist, so he's in quite a unique position in terms of obviously the mental health implications of all of this.
And
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 his
there's
advice,
also there's also other implications. Like, I mean, we had an interesting story yesterday about a rise, a spike in deaths in the elderly for at least 1 week in March, a 25% increase in deaths in the elderly, and this is there's some sort of analysis to be had here about how the battle against COVID-19 is affecting different aspects of the healthcare system, right? Are we able to give enough care to all our healthcare patients, or are we giving almost too much of a focus on COVID-19, and is that creating a bit of a strain on the rest of things? But I think we should move on to our next story. Yesterday there was a vote in Parliament proposed by the Nationalist Party. The vote was to end the deal with Stewart Healthcare, previously Vitals Global Healthcare, the operators of 3 hospitals in Malta. The government MPs all voted against this motion, and therefore the Nationalist Party sort of lost this vote. It's quite interesting as well because the government is actually quite against this deal as well today, and at least against the way the operator has materialized their conditions, in the sense how they've performed so far. But they said that this was very bad timing in terms of the pandemic, right? What do you make of that?
yes. So let's not forget that I think around a week or 2 weeks before the Malta confirmed its first COVID case, there was a lot of discussion about this contract and what the government's going to do with it. Robert Abella was non-committal, but there were even signs that he could go as far as to scrap the contract entirely. But of course, then everything just completely changed as soon as the first COVID case erupted. Now, have to remember that these operators have 3 hospitals, right? They have Karen Grek, St. Luke's, and the Gozo Hospital, and the resources are partially being utilized for COVID patients as well. So Robert Abella's argument is that if we're going with places on the back burner, this is short steward. Like at the moment, our focus is 100% on using our resources to the max to fight COVID, and then we'll address this issue of what to do with the contract, whether to scrap it, whether to amend it, whether to keep it after once the situation has calmed down. And I mean, there's a lot of questions to be asked about this contract, but I think there is also an argument to be made that now is not the time for the government to get into a lengthy legal battle with someone who operates 3 hospitals at a time when we really need them and when the country really needs them.
Interestingly as well, former Health Minister Konrad Mizzi, who actually signed this deal in the first place and negotiated this deal in the first place, wasn't in Parliament yesterday to defend the contract. He was actually stuck in the UK and presented some medical certificate to say he was unfit to fly and has been since the beginning of March, right? Yeah, a bit John Daly style. I saw that. But.
I mean, the way I saw it is obviously flights have been cancelled for a while. Repatriation flights are very rare, and they launched a while ago. It's the fact that a sitting MP, decided not to get repatriated to Malta for whatever reason. I mean, it's obviously he has property in the UK, Konrad Mizzi, but I mean the fact that he chose to stay there rather than come back to Malta when he's literally a representative in Parliament, just like makes me wonder where his focus is right now.
Yeah. And yesterday as well, there was a controversial story about a gym being fined €3,000, right?
Yes.
What exactly is the controversy here, Tim?
So basically, there's this Gozoton gym owner who was inside his gym. But he wasn't training people or welcoming clients there. He was basically carrying out maintenance works, painting the walls, arranging the equipment so that they're further apart from each other, so that when they reopened, there'd be more of a degree of social distancing. And he was carrying out online classes from inside his gym. Now, he ended up getting fined €3,000, which is the fine applicable to businesses who breach who businesses classified as non-essential, who breach the legal notice introduced in light of COVID. Now, this is problematic because the whole point of the law, as many people definitely understood it, is that you can't allow customers inside your premises, not that you can't enter the premises yourself.
In fact, there are a number of gyms doing video online classes from the gyms, no?
Yes, exactly, and there's this element of confusion about this. And so the first time it's happened, like I've heard that there are other cases of this, where you will get fined because they assume that either because you're working inside it, or because they assume someone else. I don't know, but you should still be allowed inside your own shop, especially if you're by yourself. Like, what's I don't get what the big problem is. And even if you do fight, it's so important to note, even if you do fight this case legally and win, it's not a civil case, so you're still going to end up having to pay legal fees. So you're basically going to have to lose money either way if there's a misinterpretation of the law, and it's not really fair at all.
And we'll see if the police react to that story now, right? To this person's claims. Today as well, we've just launched quite a fun little project, the Quarantina collection. So if you've ever wanted to get like a cool T-shirt or pair of socks or a nice poster of Super Charmaine or some other memory from this very strange quarantine and lockdown and social distancing reality, we've actually launched this. We've partnered up with the amazing, talented people at Souvenirs That Don't Suck. And so check out lovinmalta.com for more information about how you can buy these t-shirts and posters and socks and coasters. Lots of memories. We're trying to make, I think, create something positive in all of this, and look at the silver lining. Also, €1 for every single from every single purchase is going to be going to the Richmond Foundation to help mental health, to give the gift of therapy to those who really need it most. So let's kind of help put a smile on people's faces, create a memory that we could, when we've got when we grow up, we could sort of show our kids this time, and have a bit of a laugh as well. I think that the really nice designs showing a local flavor to everything that we've experienced, including toilet papers and carnivirus from Adrian's and Meat. Check it out. What do you think, Tim? You get yourself something?
Yes, the Prime Minister just announced going to address a press conference at 11 a.m. today. Now,
okay.
So it could be either about this issue of the migrants or something to do with the transition strategy, but we'll find out.
Okay, so you'll be following that today, guys. Thank you very much for following Lovin Daily. As we said, just give me 1 second. As we said, today's episode is brought to you by Browns and You. I'm just gonna. Browns and You. Next week, we're going to be launching a great competition, a Mother's Day giveaway. So we'll be giving away different products every day. So watch this space. That was it from today. This is a public holiday, Workers' Day. Shout out to all the workers out there who are still working on a public holiday. We also have this great video about Workers' Day that you might like to share, so head to our Facebook page. And don't forget also to vote for the social media awards, where we had the nominees released yesterday. So that's all from us. Have a day full of loving. Bye, Tim.